our house, things are usually kept pretty neatly, except my closet. My closet is completely overflowing, even when I clean it. And it is clean right now and organized, but there's no room between the clothes. Like every hanger is jam-packed. And if I buy even one thing new, I'm gonna have to get rid of something because it won't fit in. I had to buy extra shelves that go up to my ceiling to hold my shoes. I have such an overflowing closet. And I wondered, like, why? Why do I struggle with this so much? And it's because I have unprocessed emotions. So if you have an overflowing closet, you have that closet that as soon as you open the door, you throw something in and shut it. I think of that Friends episode. Monica has that closet. Everything
So
else
funny.
is neat and tidy, right? But she's at that one closet. It does resemble and it is a metaphor for those unresolved emotions. And as we talked at the top of the episode, being an emotional hoarder is something that I also struggle with. And I know that now. And so if you have a closet or a drawer, or maybe it's the caddy in your car where you just throw things and you don't look at it, that's probably because you're not looking at other things as well. Welcome to the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast, where you master your mind and coach your own comeback. You are the hero, you are the guide, and you will learn to architect your life from the inside. I'm your host, Britannia Stowe, joined by my sister and co host, Annika Wilder. Enjoy the show. As 2025 comes to an end, I've been thinking a lot about all the things we carry physically, emotionally, spiritually, and how letting go is actually an invitation for abundance. In Chinese astrology, the year of 2025, this year that's coming to an end, is the year of the snake. As the year comes to an end, you're going to feel this big push to shed and to let go. It was actually the wood snake, and the wood snake is also an invitation of wisdom and creativity and growth. And so now you're feeling an even bigger push to propel forward as we enter 2026, which is the year of the horse, the fire horse. This is the year that you run fast, that you take action, and you can really have the passion that you've been trying to call in. But how do we make room for that? Well, that's what this podcast episode is all about. Today, we're talking about hoarding, all the things we hang on to literally or metaphorically that we've been invited to let go. Annika, how do you feel about hoarding?
I don't like physically hoarding. I am actually one that lets go. I let go of physical things very easily. I go through my closet every few months and get rid of things. I'm constantly asking my husband, "Can we get rid of this?" and he likes, he's like the typical like, "I'll put that in my shop because I might need that one day." And then, 10 years go by and he didn't need it. But so I like to get rid of things physically. But what I do hold on to is emotions. I tend to suppress emotions. So years ago, I had this aha moment talking to Dan, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm an emotional hoarder." I didn't realize that I was hoarding emotions because I was afraid to deal with them, to let it go because it's comfortable, to process them, whatever. I mean, we talked a little bit about it in the vulnerability podcast, but that's part of vulnerability is expressing emotions, let them come out, exposing them, but instead I would hoard them. So I don't like either side of the hoarding, physically or emotionally, but I do emotionally hoard things, and I think that not a lot of people think about hoarding that way.
I struggle with that as well. And I wonder if it has something to do with how we were raised and our upbringing, our childhood, or maybe genetically, because I struggle with emotional hoarding. I also struggle with physical hoarding. And it has been a lesson in being married about keeping spaces clean and clear. And I'm so grateful for my husband who is quick to get rid of things. And I'm always surprised when he wants to hang on to a box just in case, because that's not him. And so I think that the physical hoarding is also a an example of my emotional hoarding, right? We've talked about this before, how these voids, that show up physically are actually these emotional voids. And so that's what we're talking about today. Hoarding fills an emotional void. A, an emotional void of the fear of loss. I know that I struggle with that. Right now, I have a pair of white jeans. They are these beautiful 7 jeans, and they are a size 2. And I will probably never, ever get back into these because my hips have gotten bigger since having a baby. It's not just about losing the weight. And I don't want to get rid of it. I get rid of things all the time, but I pick up these pants, and every time I do, I think instead of just throwing the pants away or, donating them, I am now giving up on my body. I am now giving up on the opportunity to be this like lean size 2. And so I do have a genuine fear of loss of that version of myself.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so real and honest. And I think a lot of new moms feel that way because it always feels like it's the new normal. And then women tend to think that this is life forever, that you are now this size forever, which is actually probably not true. Like my feet grew a whole size, and finally, years later, they're like back down. I thought they would stay like a bigger size, like nine and a half for a long time, but now I'm like 8.5, 9-ish now. So things do change and things can go back, but we women feel like this is forever and that I'm never going to be this way or whatever. So we hold on to things, but things change all the time. I say keep the pants.
Well, I don't have a lot of room in my closet, so maybe I'll keep maybe I'll keep one pair of pants. But that brings us to the next fear, fear of change.
Yeah.
We, like you said, as women, we do expect these things to be forever because when it finally does change and we're like, okay, I'm accepting the change. I have now accepted it. So therefore, it is now my reality forever.
Hmm.
And we have a hard time with that evolution, that constant revolving door of things coming and going or going up and down. The other huge fear is fear of not having enough. I know that that is a problem that I've had as well is I'll hang on to expensive things that I don't use. I don't
Hmm.
wear, I don't need, but it was expensive. And I think that is tied to an emotional fear of not having enough.
Hmm. Yeah, Dan said recently, because I don't like wasting food, because we always got in trouble, like as a kid, if we wasted food, because we didn't have a lot of extra. And so I have this like, no, like there's still like 5 bites left, or like I made all this food and then it just sits in the fridge and nobody eats leftovers and it's just wasted. And Dan's like, well, that's just like you're just coming from a place of lack. Like we have more than enough. It's okay. You're feeding the earth. Like I have such a hard time with that because I'm like, no, like we have to eat everything. This is money wasted. This is time and energy wasted. But that, I mean, he's right. It does come up from a place of lack, but I still like that is such a hard thing for me to let go of because I'm like, no, I don't want my effort or money to go down the drain.
Yeah. Well, and I agree when it comes to food, I struggle with that. And I have to do this like mind game of leaving one bite on the plate just to go, I am choosing to leave that. I don't feel compelled to have to eat everything on my plate or eat the entire bag or not let anything go to waste, which, waste is bad. We don't want to waste anything, but we also don't want to feel like we don't have control either. So telling myself, okay, if you want to, you can eat everything or you can leave one single bite just to show that you are in control.
What a control freak.
I know. That's a whole nother episode. And that brings us to our last fear, fear of not being enough. And I think those who do control as much as they can do have that fear of not being enough. And so they try to control all the things around them so they don't always have to look inside and face that fear of not being enough.
So you're saying they're holding on to these fears. So this is the emotional hoarding. They're holding on to these things out of the fear of losing them, the fear of feeling a certain way, the fear of letting go of like an old past version of yourself, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And this all comes from a scarcity mindset. The belief that we're not going to have more later, like Dan said, like we have more than enough. We have plenty of food, we have plenty of time and energy, we have plenty of money. The grocery stores are full. We have cars with gas. We are very capable of getting more food. But if we have a scarcity mindset, not enough love, not enough connection, then we start to go back to this hoarding.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so what do you like, how does it show up in any other ways?
Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned these white pants that are so cute. These white pants, keeping clothes that you never wear or that you haven't worn in 10 years. I know that there's, that little black skirt or maybe that fur coat or something that every now and then you like to bring out and it's special. But the truth is, styles change, your body changes shape, and you're not going to want the same thing that you had back in high school, right? We're different people now, yet we hang on to them. So, keeping clothes that you never wear or, haven't worn in a long time, keeping people in your life. This is a huge one. And I thought of you, Annika, when I, was preparing for this episode, because I remember you just having the most friends. Out of everyone I knew, you always had the most friends. And I'm curious how you feel about keeping people in your life that maybe have drifted apart or no longer vibe with you.
This is a hard one actually, but I got stuck in so we were on a plane in Portland flying to Salt Lake City and the weather was so bad we couldn't land. So we landed in Boise and then had to get a rental car to drive the 4 hours or 5 hours to Salt Lake City. It was horrible, long, travel time. And we split the car rental with someone else in the same situation. And we're like, hey, are you going to Salt Lake City? Do you want to split the cost with us? And she said, yeah. And she happened to be an Uber driver. So she's like, I'm fine with driving the whole way if you want. And I was like, okay. So she drove the whole way and we talked through the night because it's like 5 hours. We got on the road at, 10 or 11 at night and we're just driving. And she's talking this whole time. She had this totally different mindset about people in your life. And it wasn't until I met her, until I had this conversation that I thought about it like this. But she says, yeah, I'm just getting to the age where I realize that it's okay to let people go. It's okay to have been friends in the past, but no longer be friends now. It's not that there's ill feelings, but if they are taking up your time and energy that no longer serves you, it's okay to turn the other direction. And I was like, what? Like, you just tell people like I'm sorry, I can't be friends with you anymore? And she's like, well, you kind of tell them that that you're spending your time elsewhere. Like she had a very tactful way of saying it, but I never thought of letting go of people. Like once you're friends, you're always friends.
Hmm.
But if you're not nurturing those relationships, you do drift apart.
Hmm.
So they don't just stay forever. Like I have friends that were my best friends in college that I barely know anything about now because we haven't nourished that relationship. But that's okay. But in my back of my mind, I'm thinking, but they're still my friends. I don't want to let them go. And that's a really hard one for me to wrap around. It's not that they're no longer serving me. It's just that we don't spend time with each other anymore. So do I let them go or are they still taking up space in the back of my mind? Because I do think of them all the time.
Well, and that's a good point. Like I think that you can, not pour intentional energy into someone and they can still pop it up into your head. It's funny you bring that up because I actually reached out to a lady that I met at the dog park 3 years ago. I've not talked to her in 2 years. And I saw a dog that reminded me of her dog. And I just felt like I should reach out. I wasn't sure if this was her number still. And I just sent her a text and I said, "Hey, Kaylee, I've just been thinking about you over the last couple of years randomly. I hope that you graduated, and you're a doctor now. I hope that you moved back east and that maybe you're getting married," because these were the things that we had talked about. And she had replied with, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to hear from you. I am a doctor now. We're probably going to get married next year and then babies after that." And we had a text exchange that took about 5 minutes. And then that's it. That's it. She's not someone that I need to pull back into my life. I can let her go, but I don't think there's anything wrong with, "Hey, I'm thinking about this person," and reaching out to them. Now, if you're thinking about them and it's draining you, right? If you go, "Gosh, like, why don't I talk to her anymore?" Or, "I'm really sad about how this relationship ended. And, why aren't we friends?" If it's an energy suck, then maybe that's something you need to let go. But I think it's okay if there are people that have drifted apart in your life and you didn't have to have the talk and you reach out to every now and then. I think that's okay. I don't think it's taking up any space with my current friend group.
Yeah, as you're talking, I just had this like emotional reaction that kind of created panic.
Oh
And
no.
it's nothing that you said. It was just a thought that came up as you were talking. And it's like, oh no, do I need to delete all the contacts in my phone? Because I've got, I don't know, 500, 1,000, I don't know, like so many contacts, people I haven't talked to in over 10 years. But I started like feeling panicky, like, oh no, what if I need those people? If I delete them out of my life completely, I won't ever be able to get a hold of them again, which is telling on me. It's like, why do I have so much anxiety letting go of contacts in my phone that I don't even know ring to the same people anymore?
Oh, that's actually a really good point because I remember this probably happened a year ago, but I was trying to find a phone number for Jason and we were talking about old numbers that we kept in our phone. And in my phone, because I used to be on like the dating apps, and when I was dating, I would put people in my phone like not their first and last name. It would be like Adam, hot guy. Casey, scary movie guy. Jonathan, pro baseball player, wink, wink. Like, and I would just have these like, people in there. But you're right. I don't need them in my phone anymore. And if you have an emotional response, either you, Annika, or our listeners, when we talk about letting some of these people go, then there's probably a good sign that you do need to let it go. I don't think everyone has that same weight. Like it doesn't bother me to have them in my phone. I have no emotional response if they got deleted. Okay. I'm okay with letting it go, which is again very telling that I'm not holding on to those relationships and I'm not too afraid to let them go.
I think it's because I am probably holding on to an old self, like an identity I'm
Mm-hmm.
not ready to let go, like college
Mm-hmm.
Annika. So all these contacts in my phone are from college. And so if I delete them, if I'm no longer friends with them, if I cut these people out, that's also admitting that I'm no longer that person that connects and associates with those types of people. So it could be also not just letting go of people, but also willing to let go of who I used to be.
Yes, that's a great example. Identities that no longer serve you. I know that single Britannia, newly married Britannia is a different version than mom Britannia. And that's a real thing that people talk about, but not a lot of people talk about, these other versions of ourselves, maybe high school were the glory days or college. And even though you've been a mom and you've gone through the transition of like single, married, and mom, there is probably a part of you that really doesn't want to let go of college Annika, because college Annika was fun. She threw parties that the whole neighborhood came to. There were bands. She was a DJ. Like you were amazing. You were a rock star. But you know what, Annika? You're a rock star now, and you don't have to throw parties to prove it.
Yeah, I'm just a different kind of rock star. I'm not a headbanger anymore with, singing metal. I'm more in
Yeah.
the alternative folk band that's a little bit more chill that doesn't give me a headache.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the club. Well, this is how it shows up, right? So we talked about how it shows up and how, um, it's not always what you think, like keeping every box and bag or keeping all your clothes or food, expired food in your cupboard. It can show up in these different ways. And there's these experts, Dr. Randy Frost and Gail, I think it's Stakiti. They're the author of Stuff. And they talk about how people hoard due to a combination of factors, including physiological, neurological, and environmental, which usually stems from trauma. And there's this inability to discard things that have potential value. So, contacts in your phone, what if you need them, right? Like you said, there's potential value. And we've talked about potential energy before, and I think we can get very excited about the potential of something. But if we are hoarding on to all these potentials, then we are not making room for things that can actually come into fruition.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, out with the old, in with the new is a phrase for a reason. Like if you are holding on to old things, like think of a house with old furniture. If you're never able to get rid of the old stuff, then you'll never get to experience the joy of having new things in your home.
Mhm. And I love new. Like new is exciting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there's all this like what's going to happen next. But you can't have new. And I've seen this before, people who go out and go shopping all the time and buy all these things because they're looking for the excitement and the adventure of new, but they come home and there's nowhere to put the new things because they have so many old things. So they're really robbing themselves of the opportunity of the newness because when they get home, they just realize they don't have room for new and they drop back into the old.
Yeah, exactly. I think looking at a house is such a good example of like getting rid of physical things, which can be symbolic for getting rid of emotional things. And there's a whole, is it like, do you consider feng shui like an art or is it
Yes.
like a practice? Like, let's talk about feng shui.
Yeah. So feng shui is the art of arranging space for ideal energy flow. So a lot of people, think of it as just design, and it does help with design so that things are, placed in, pretty way. But the idea, this is also from China, my Chinese astrology and my, Chinese design elements. But what you do is you actually have pieces and colors placed in your home and your office that allow for proper energy flow because we're all energy. And when we have stuck energy, we become stuck. Clutter is stuck energy. So everything in your home is either supporting or draining you. And it's less about the actual stuff and more about the space in between the stuff. And I love feng shui, not because my house is perfectly designed to allow that energy flow. I could probably work on that a little bit more, but because your home, like you mentioned, is really a metaphor for your life. Your entryway, when you enter in your entryway, if you see a bunch of shoes and jackets and purses and bags, how does that, resemble the rest of your life? Do you have a lot of barriers and obstacles when you first start a project? This, if your entryway is open and clean and clear, then you're most likely able to start really fast and move through things in the beginning with ease. Your bedroom is a metaphor for your self-worth and your relationships. So if you keep your bed made and your nightstand clear, then you value your relationships, you value yourself. But if you can't make your bed for the life of you, or you have 15 glasses of water on your nightstand, then maybe you're struggling with some self-worth. Your workspace is the same. Annika, what do you think your workspace is a metaphor for?
Oh man, I'm looking at my workspace right now. There's a lot of papers on it. So, um, I mean, work is always about opportunity and it's about creativity. It's about accomplishing, like moving the needle. And so, but if you, I have people on our team that wipe down their desk. Like they don't just put everything away, but they spray a cleaner and wipe it down with a microfiber cloth every single day at the end of their workday. It's part of their workday shutdown that they do this so that and then when they come into the office, they have a clear desk. There's nothing there waiting for them and they're ready to work. Whereas when I come into my office, like I'm looking at a stack of papers that I keep saying, I'm going to go through this and a stack of like notes and post sticky notes. Then I'm like, oh, these are notes that I need to transpose and or put into the computer. And so every time I come in, I'm like, oh, it's like this daunting thing. So it shouldn't be something that stresses you out. A workplace should be like a metaphor for what are we going to accomplish today without having like, I like the word you said, obstacles, kind of like the entryway, the obstacles.
Yeah, and if you have a an office that is covered, because I know my office used to look like this, is covered with post-it notes and stacks of paper and is so bombarded, then you're actually decreasing those opportunities because you've increased those obstacles.
Exactly. What about those like junk drawers or like overflowing closets that people have in their house? What does that mean?
Why'd you look at me when you said that? Uh,
Everybody's got those.
Yeah. Okay. So we're not allowed to call it a junk drawer in my house, though we do have one that kind of is, because what you call it matters. And that's, something really important, the words that you use. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the four agreements. But yes, I do have a drawer that has a little more in it than it needs to be. It has your measuring tape and it has a highlighter and it has your keys and sunglasses, right? But in our house, things are usually kept pretty neatly except my closet. My closet is completely overflowing, even when I clean it. And it is clean right now and organized, but there's no room between the clothes. Like every hanger is jam-packed. And if I buy even one thing new, I'm gonna have to get rid of something because it won't fit in. I had to buy extra shelves that go up to my ceiling to hold my shoes. I have such an overflowing closet. And I wondered, like, why? Why do I struggle with this so much? And it's because I have unprocessed emotions. So if you have an overflowing closet, you have that closet that as soon as you open the door, you throw something in and shut it. I think of that Friends episode. Monica has that closet. Everything
So
else
funny.
is neat and tidy, right? But she's at that one closet. It does resemble and it is a metaphor for those unresolved emotions. And as we talked at the top of the episode, being an emotional hoarder is something that I also struggle with. And I know that now. And so if you have a closet or a drawer, or maybe it's the caddy in your car where you just throw things and you don't look at it, that's probably because you're not looking at other things as well.
So it's like just not processing. You are suppressing, not
Yeah.
dealing
Not
with.
dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Because we're busy. I don't have time to deal with this. So we just tuck it away. That's literally what you're doing. As you tuck away your shoes, that letter someone sent you, or a broken keychain, as you're tucking this away in drawers or your closet, you're doing the same thing with your emotions. You're saying, I can't deal with this right now.
Mm.
But the things that you don't deal with will eventually deal with you, right? So we're trying to build intention back into our life. And if you keep like a broken keychain or you keep broken things, you are keeping broken energy around you. It's okay if something breaks and you want to fix it and reuse it. But if you're keeping something that's broken just because you can't let it go, that's a deeper issue, metaphor for having broken energy within yourself.
And remember that show? I think it was a show with Marie Kondo.
Hmm.
And everybody, like, people still say it, like, does it spark joy, right? Like, this is like, she kind of coined that.
Hmm.
She's like, for those who don't know, she like helped people with hoarding, like getting rid of things, organizing. And she would say, like, if it sparks joy, keep it. If it doesn't, get rid of it. And there's so much that we are holding on to that doesn't spark joy. So what's the point? Why are we holding on to it?
Yeah, well, exactly. And, I would even say not only if it sparks joy, but if you pick up something, I don't have a lot on my desk, but, I pick up this pen. And if I am flooded with, good memories, then that's, it sparks joy. But if I am flooded with resentment or all of a sudden regret, then I need to get rid of it. This will help you process the resentment. This will help you process the regret when you choose to get rid of it. So, on the flip side of it, it's really important to acknowledge the emotion you are feeling when you pick something up. If you're having a flashback to an old boyfriend that didn't treat you so great, maybe don't keep that thing around.
But it's also just a pen.
This is a very powerful pen. It's a metaphor for your life, for your boyfriend. But yeah, and you're right. It is just a pen, so it shouldn't be so hard to get rid of, right? This isn't you. This pen is not you. So it's okay to let it go.
Yeah, it's something that, we talk a lot about mom. So if you make her something, she will say, "Oh my gosh, this is a part of you. A part of you is in this thing." And it like means so much to her. And so she associates things with like the emotion and energy of people. And
Mhm.
if you do that, it's a beautiful thing. It can become a beautiful memory. It can also make you keep things that are no longer bringing joy to you. You might want to hold on to it because you're like, but if I get rid of this, it's like getting rid of a piece of my daughter, which is not true. So it's like the intention that we put into it and how we view those things. So it can be beautiful, but it can also, that perception can also make us just like hold on to things.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I will say again, on the flip side, I do think it's really beautiful that everything that, every grandchild makes for mom, or, if we make something for her, it just brings so much value to her. And I think that's very tender and sweet. But if you have too much, then you don't have room to even feel the joy. So let's make room. Okay, let's make room physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And I have a few ideas on how we can do that. Physically, we just talked about feng shui and hoarding. So, start with one shelf, one drawer. Instead of trying to take on your whole closet, maybe there's one pair of shoes that you know you're not going to wear. So just put it in a bag. Maybe you're not ready to take that bag to the DI, to the thrift store, but maybe you are able to set it by the door. Get a little bit closer. Maybe even time yourself. So maybe you don't have that one thing or it's still just so daunting. So let's bring it back to when we're kids and our parents used to time ourselves to clean our room. Grab a timer. Use your phone or, use a desk timer and set it for 10 minutes and just go, ooh, what can I get rid of in 10 minutes? What can I organize in 10 minutes? And you'd be surprised how much 10 minutes can actually alleviate this pressure. And just like anything, you might feel this motivation after 10 minutes. So then you want to go 30 minutes or an hour, or maybe it becomes your project for the day.
And that same thing could be applied emotionally too. Like if you are holding on to things, you can put a timer on for those. Like, let's see how many things I could write down and let go emotionally in 10 minutes. It's the same type of fun that you can apply to letting go of grudges, resentments, disappointments, old stories or narratives. Replaying the same stories over and over and over, like I tend to do, the emotional hoarding. I mean, there are ways that you can let go emotionally. We talked about yoga in the past, that things that you can move your body physically to release emotions that are trapped in there. So there are ways you can do this.
Yeah, and I would even say yoga helps spiritually too. I was thinking lately I need to do more yoga. I've been so busy and I'm not teaching as much. And I keep thinking, like, I need to do more yoga. I need to do more yoga. Well, if I am keeping that thought, of doing yoga in my head, then I am hoarding this thought, right? So I'm not making room mentally. I'm not making room spiritually. I'm not making room even, within my body physically. And so create space. If you're having the thought, I need to do yoga, this does not mean you have to go to a class or you have to go for an hour. It can be 10 minutes. It could be 5 minutes. It could be a sun salutation, but allow yourself to take that thought out of that state of just being a repetitive thought and move it through. And this will help you spiritually and mentally. This will help you release those outdated beliefs that you don't show up for yourself, right? There are other outdated beliefs that you might have for yourself. And this can allow yourself to have room to have more expansive thoughts or new thoughts. So if I finally do yoga, I will stop thinking I need to do yoga and maybe I'll have a new thought, a thought that's been waiting to come to me, but I haven't had room for it. So, there's so many ways that you can, make room, but there's also ways that you can kind of block yourself. And so we want to make sure that you're unblocking your blessings by making room physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, but by also literally making room. So get rid of those stagnant items in your home and in your life. There are so many reasons why we hang on to things, like we had mentioned. And one of the common reasons that we are so blocked is that we're attached to the outcome, or we have a old pattern or an old version of ourselves that we keep going back to. Right. So we're saving things for a future that doesn't exist. Like Annika, if you were saving all of your band t-shirts like you had when you were in college, because you think college Annika is in the present, well, you'd be doing a disservice and you'd be blocking blessings for present and future Annika.
It's true. It's the same thing, like I said, letting go of the old to welcome the new. If you're holding on to grudges with people, you are blocking yourself from new connections or a deeper connection with them that will serve you better than holding on to something in the past that's not serving you anymore.
Yeah, and just like having people around that you don't vibe with anymore. If you're not vibing, you're not in the same wavelength, maybe you're not in the same stage of life. Being around those people are going to slow you down and block your blessings. Just like being around the 5 people you spend the most time with are the people you're most likely going to be like. Be more intentional. Instead of just thinking about the 5, maybe it's the 10 or the 20. Bring your circle out. These people that may no longer vibe with you or you're keeping them around out of obligation might actually be blocking the blessing of a new person coming into your life.
So, how do we reframe this? Because it's so hard to let go of things. It feels because there's all those fears that come up. It feels like you're losing things. Like letting go can be uncomfortable and painful. And it feels like you're literally losing something or like getting rid of something that's been a part of you for so long. How do we reframe it so it doesn't feel so scary or daunting?
Yeah, so, that's a really good question. What we want to do is focus on what we're gaining, because by the letting go, we're making room for what's coming in. This could be potential anything. This could be freedom, peace, creativity. This could be money, hope, opportunity. This could be a new friendship or relationship. Like if you were to sit down and actually have a moment and talk to yourself and go, okay, I know that I'm hoarding onto X, Y, and Z, but if I let it go, I know I'm going to be welcoming in A, B, C. It'll be so much easier to make room. But we get so stuck on the letting go. Like that's where it ends. No, that's where it begins. Letting go is making room. It is about what you're gaining. And so that's why I really encourage you guys to take some time. let's help you self-coach yourselves to take some time and maybe walk around your home and identify some clutter. Maybe it's your junk drawer, maybe it's your closet, but identify some physical things that you no longer need. And you may notice that by picking up something, you may be triggered emotionally as well. And don't just stuff it back in the closet, right? We want to make sure that we're processing those emotions, but also moving around helps you trigger these thoughts. So maybe you don't have anything you want to get rid of, but just walk around your house, allow the energy to flow, allow there to be movement, and then notice if anything comes up, even if there's nothing that you physically need to get rid of. Ask yourself, where do I feel crowded? If you feel suffocated in a room or a part of a room or with a person, you need to cut them out of your life. They are stifling you, or that thing is blocking what is really meant for you. This is a physical response. So, notice in your body if you start to feel tight in your chest or closed off or, small when you're either around a person or a thing or in a room. This is a physical to be a change here. Annika, what would be some other suggestions for our listeners?
Well, this is out of the Britannia book, but call it out, like give it a name.
Mhm.
And as soon as you identify what it is, it's easier to go, oh, okay, this is why I feel this way. So if you are having fear about something, what is that fear exactly? If you're not willing to let go of clothes, is it a fear that you'll never lose weight again? Or a fear of, if it's like another item that you love, is it a fear that you'll never have those good times again? You're living in the past. Or that you won't be able to afford nice things again because that nice thing you want to get rid of is an expensive thing. Like, call it out. What is the fear actually? What does the item represent? Are you really scared of getting rid of a shirt or pants? Or are you scared that you'll never lose weight? Like, what's the deeper meaning?
Yes. Oh, you're so right. And then, go ahead and call out what you want, right? Because it's all about making room. So I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want more love, more opportunity. You can get specific. I want to have the time and the energy to finish writing my book or to start a business or to actually start a family. Get specific with yourself. Once you're able to focus on what you actually want, it becomes easy to let go of the things that don't serve you. And that doesn't mean you just throw it in the trash, right? You can donate it, give it a new home to someone else. I love shopping at the thrift store. Thank you to all the people who have donated the things that they no longer need. So allow it to have another home, or maybe even having a release ritual, like, holding the item, thanking the item before letting it go, visualizing in your mind's eye all of the joy that it gave you before physically letting it go and making room for something new. This helps you not just physically let go, but you'll feel that emotional release as well. And again, claim that blessing. You are making room for what is next. Tell yourself, I trust by making room, I am not leaving things behind. I am making room for the things that have been coming for me, blessings have been waiting for me. So allow yourself to do that and to say that I am open to all the blessings that come, even if they're ones I haven't even thought of yet. Think about it. If you think that you're going to have, a say $10,000 coming to you, and so you go and you get a box, a small box, just enough to carry $10,000. And then what happens when the universe wants to give you 100,000 or 1 million? You won't have room to carry it. So don't just think small. Create space so that there's more abundance and more blessings than you had ever dreamed.
I love that. And also think about how much you love spending time in a clean house. Like when you get rid of things, it's so much more enjoyable to be around. Other people are comfortable when they come. They don't have to move something off of the couch just to sit down, or they don't have to trip on your shoes coming into the house, or they smell funny things or whatever. It's so much more enjoyable when everything has its place. It feels like it has order and it's clean. It's the same thing emotionally. If we are cleaning up ourselves, decluttering, decluttering our emotions we're holding on to, think about how enjoyable it will be to reside like inside and be one with yourself, and for other people to be around you. You will have less anxiety, you will have less worry, you will have an ability to relax better because you don't have so many things literally taking up space in your mind and in your physical and emotional and energetic and spiritual bodies. If we just declutter all of these systems, then we are able to just chill and enjoy being present. Makes it a lot easier.
Ugh,
Easier.
you're so right. And remember, it's not something you do once, right? It's not just spring cleaning, right? Letting go is something that you practice and it gets better and better. It feels better and better the more you do it and the more you move through the experience. Give yourself grace if this is new for you or if you've done it 100 times because you're not the same version of yourself. So don't be afraid to push yourself to make big changes, but also know it'll take some time to create that space and to shift your life in the direction you want to go. Remember, you deserve a life that has room for all of your blessings, not just the ones you're looking for. This has been another episode of the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, subscribe and share the love. And remember the teachings of Lao Tzu. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Until next time, trust yourself, take the wisdom, take the breath, and take the next step.